Hi, everybody. Karen Roby and Nadine Mendoza for Tech Republic. Thanks for being with us today. We're all working from home. Kids are still doing their schoolwork in a lot of cases from home, Nadine. And, this time is really moving on now. I mean, we're at least past 60 days of having to adjust to this. And it seems the cracks are starting to show for a lot of people. You put a great article here together about burnout and how a lot of people are experiencing that. What did you find?
Well, a lot of even pre-pandemic, people in sort of semi-stressful situations, it's taken a toll on employees. And 1/3 of people say that it's affected their mental health. And so normally the top three stressors are mental health, worry about money and paying bills, and third is a toxic boss or coworkers. But now, according to a poll by Monster, people are incredibly prone to burnout who are telecommuting, which you may think, well, you're at home and it's more comfortable. How could you be burned out? But in actuality, 50% of respondents said that they were experiencing burnout. And in terms of combating that, a shocking 52% said that they have no intention of taking a break or a vacation. And for some people who had to go home, maybe they couldn't work from home exactly, a lot of people used up their sick time and their vacation time. But even people who have transferred their work to home are not thinking about a vacation right now. I think people are worried about traveling on airplanes, on boats, even though Carnival Cruise released a thing saying that their bookings for June went up 600% or something. But I think a lot of people are just not prepared to think that far ahead. They're just trying to deal with day to day. So people are having like an overall sense of anxiety. There's fear and confusion and worrying about when you're going to return to normal. It's sort of exacerbating the regular sort of work tensions and stresses. You're also not as much in communication. And we're going to get into what the experts recommend that you should do when you experience this burnout. According to DICE, they said that because of COVID, 72% of IT workers are seeing their workloads increase. So they're really experiencing burnout. They're the ones that are handling the transition from working in the office to working at home. They're the ones that are dealing with a very serious issue, and that's cybersecurity from working from home. And a lot of people are just saying our life has really merged. Our home life and our work life have melded together, and it's kind of creeping into each other. So what has happened with COVID is US workers have been on their laptops an additional 3 hours a day. So that's quite a bit. And there's been a 40% rise compared to patterns seen before March 11 in terms of how long people are online. Workers in the UK, France, Spain, and Canada, they all start their day earlier, and a workday average is 2 hours longer than the rest of the world. There have been all kinds of studies asking, like how many minutes are people spending online, and the USA is up there. They're in some of the highest amounts of work time equaling stress time and then burnout. And in general, during this pandemic, people are just, both men and women are doing their work, and they're also dealing with e-learning. So there's a lot of people who have children of different ages are trying to handle that while they're working. And some people are required to have quite a few meetings and interactions and team collaborations, which is actually a good thing to kind of curb the burnout, but it's pretty stressful if you're trying to do that while you're working, the e-learning plus your work. So women actually spend 4 hours a day more on unpaid work. And Bill Gates' wife, Melinda, calls that time poverty because, it's very hard to get out of. And men spend about 2.5 hours a day doing unpaid work. So there's all that stuff that's going on, and people think, we're overworked, but that's good momentum and everything, but it really isn't. What ends up happening if you overwork yourself, there's an incredible decrease in productivity. So the result is overwork. There's a lack of routine, people who are used to office environment. And also without the morning commute, people are logging in earlier. You're getting up, they're waking up, the first thing they're doing is checking their emails. And then that's of course going to now have a lot more work emails than they would have had normally. So that's something else that's going on. For people who've worked from home, there are IT people and there are writers and other people who've traditionally telecommuted, but there's been an additional pressure because it's not only you who's working from home, it's everyone in your company. So yeah, and there are some examples of positive behavior, which is people have really been told you need to take breaks. And so 71% say they're taking time to either do stuff during the workday, taking a small break, going for a walk, visiting with family for a little while. But what we want to know is how do we combat this overwork? Because it just seems really easy to kind of get in that flow. And especially if you're working in different time zones, I'm in the Pacific time zone. My bosses are in the Eastern time zone. So I have to certainly adjust my schedule to that. And we also have to deal with, we're interviewing people. We're talking to experts and asking them for advice. They're all coming from different time zones too. So sometimes our days just go longer than they should be, but how do you handle that? Well, the first thing they say is people are really struggling with time management. And that is something that you need to establish a healthy work and life balance. And household distractions are really easy. For example, I have 3 dogs, so I know what that's like to just have constant, people coming in, an animal coming in and out.
Yeah.
And then those people who have small children are experiencing, they need your attention, your home. And I think people are getting more used to having those distractions, it's becoming just a part of their regular routine now. And so the experts say you don't have to work from 8 to 4 or 9 to 5. You should know your schedule and know what you want to get done, and speak to your bosses, speak to your managers and ask them, is there a way that, or would it be okay if I did my work at a certain time that's amenable to the schedule I have at home? It doesn't always work because there are people who work very closely with their teams. So you have to kind of not everyone is working on your schedule, so you have to be conscious of that. And then managers too need to be flexible and realize that their employees aren't going to be available at the same hours that they are available. And the other key is to work smarter, not harder. And they've used this analogy quite a bit. Burning the candles at both ends is likely going to have the opposite effect. And so people who work from home have 2 options, and that is you continue panic working toward the inevitable burnout, or you work sensibly and accept your new reality. And so the key to that is a schedule. You want to start with a set time each day for work. So it doesn't have to be the time that you started work, doesn't have to be the time that you got in your car to commute, but set it as a set time and give yourself that kind of schedule. Mornings traditionally, even for morning people, can be the hardest time to kind of get in the groove. So set your time, and I think a lot of employers are flexible with all the things that people have to do in addition to their work and taking care of their home, and again, the e-learning, which for some people may be ending because it's coming close to summer now. But then you have to think of other things to entertain your children. It's not like you can send them off to camp or, science camp or anything else, or swimming lessons, because that stuff isn't available to you right now. And also you have to have a collaborative effect. For example, you are not the only one who's experiencing this. So is everyone else. And it's important for bosses to let their employees know that they too have similar and pretty much the same kind of issues. And so it's really important that you check in. And because if you're burned out, especially if the manager's burned out, it's very critical. They can't help other people. So it's important that everybody kind of take care of themselves. So the simple thing is breathe deep, go for walks, keep a realistic schedule, and check in with your coworkers too to see how they're doing. For example, if you have a meeting, it's kind of like what most people do, is like we did earlier in this meeting right now, is that you check in with each other. How you doing? And it kind of, people can commiserate or they can relate to each other, because everyone handles stress and uncertainty in a different way. And it helps you kind of slow down, and you really need your contact with your team members. And I think for managers, it's a really good thing to remember to just be human. And where you might want to punch out an email, you can do like a quick video chat or some other way to contact your people rather than just a barrage of emails or text messages. So just being a human, being in contact and realizing that there are others. There are also people, some of us may be surrounded by our family and animals, and then there are people who you work with who may have no one and just have to, are isolating by themselves with no pets and no distractions except video streaming.
Right. The absolute opposite. And that's, I have coworkers like that, and they're lonely if you're isolated, and it's a different thing than how, say I am with a bunch of kids running around and the dogs, but it's difficult for everybody for different reasons. And what you said, Nadine, I think kind of, really to drive this home is we have to accept that this is our reality for, we don't know how long really before we're all back in offices or whatever our new version of normal may look like.
Yeah. And some offices are, like the Twitter offices have just announced they're going permanently all remote. So that's a big switch. And that is something to adjust. And also there may be people who we know, who we work with, or who friends of ours, who are now they're in quarantine, but then they're going to go back to the office. And it's very likely that if the second wave of this happens in the fall and winter, people are going to be going back into quarantine. So they're going to have to adjust to that. Wait, I just got back on the groove. Now I've got to switch up again. But hopefully you've come and you've informed yourself with how it works best for you to work from home.
Right. It's just going to be, an adjustment for all of us that we just have to keep working through, to get past these hurdles. Nadine, well, I certainly appreciate you being here with us today. And this is really important information, as you mentioned, because it impacts all of us in different ways, and some great advice for people that, to take into account. And I know you've got this article together, of course, on Tech Republic, and have the tips there as well, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
All right. Very good. Well, we hope all of you will check it out. We appreciate you watching, and hope that you'll check out Tech Republic.